Oral health care saved my son's life, and it can save so many more across America. My name is Kathy Keck, and I live in Topeka, Kansas, or near there, in a town called Wakarusa. This is my son, Jacob, and I adopted Jake when he was 10. My husband's name is Dan, and I have a 20-year-old stepdaughter, Emily, stepson, Lucas, who's 18, and then our foster son, Jesse, and then my daughter, Maria, who is 7, and she's also adopted. Jacob was 10 when I first adopted him, and he weighed 53 pounds. He was a tiny little dude. I actually saw Jacob on a website called Adopt KS Kids, and just something about the orneriness in his eyes caught my attention, and he had a big broken tooth in his picture. I kept going back to his picture and reading about his story, and met him in January of 2007. He moved in February, and his adoption was finalized December 21st of 2007. Oh, Jacob. Jacob is the sweetest soul you'll ever meet. He is very lovable. He is what I will call an empath, and so he picks up on others' emotions and he feels them deeply. He knows if somebody's having a bad day and they need some extra hugs. And he is a pretty funny guy. He's got a great sense of humor. He loves being pretty active. He's my daredevil. Usually he gets out of the house for like 4 or 5 hours every day. He loves his siblings a whole bunch. He also likes to feed our bearded dragon and play with our bearded dragon, and he's one of a kind. Jacob has cerebral palsy. He has seizures, epilepsy, and he also has profound developmental delays, and he's gonna be 26 this week. Developmentally, he still does a lot of functioning where you would maybe see a 2 to 3-year-old.
Mimi!
Yeah, we're gonna go brush your teeth. We'll be right back.
Mimi!
His oral health has always been a struggle. When I first got him, he had that big broken tooth, and we've tried to repair it several times. He is covered by Medicaid, but Medicaid after you're 18 in Kansas wasn't paying for dental benefits. And so Jacob and I have been trying to just make sure people understand that it's not just cosmetic, get some pretty braces on your teeth that make your teeth look beautiful or whitened, but it really can become a life and death for Jacob if we don't take care of his teeth.
Yep.
All right, you want to sit on the potty? Or you want to sit right here and we'll brush your teeth? Yeah, there's a toothbrush. There it is. Here, why don't you sit down, okay?
No.
Yeah, that's the one we're going to use. It's difficult to brush his teeth. It's kind of hit and miss on if he'll let you. Because of his cerebral palsy, he has what's called low tone in his face, and so he doesn't feel his lip very well. And so I literally have to hold his lip up to kind of get in there. But he will help me a little bit and then try to brush his teeth on his own, but mostly it's me or somebody helping him. You want to do it? Go ahead. Brush your teeth. Yeah, brush them. Between seizures and just kind of grinding his teeth, wears his teeth a lot. When he gets overwhelmed, whether it's really happy or really sad, then he bites himself or he'll hit his head. One more? One more, please? No? You don't want these? Okay, for real. You're telling me you don't want them for real. Okay, you want yogurt? That's why there's so many scars on his hands, because he bites them a lot. I mean, it's not pretty, but it is reality of one of the things, behavioral concerns that happen. He also has some neurologic conditions called neurosensory defensiveness, which basically means he doesn't necessarily like anything attached to his body. So he had quite a few medical conditions and just a lot of health concerns.
All right, well, let's take a look in your mouth. And in your mouth. Yeah, let's look at that.
No.
Yeah, Brianna's done. She cleaned up.
She's all done, friend.
Mimi!
Oh, you're giving him a glove? That's very nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
He can't verbally communicate a lot of words to people. It's like having an infant that you can't figure out what's wrong with them. Maybe they're fussy or they're acting differently is the only way you know. And that's our first indication that there's pain somewhere. But then we have to figure out where's that pain coming from. He wouldn't tell me, like he wouldn't necessarily point to his mouth if his mouth was hurting. We have moved to a puree diet or soft foods a lot of times. If we don't maintain his teeth and he can't eat and swallow, then we would have to look at alternative ways to give him nutrition. Because his neurodefensiveness is so extreme, we know that a feeding tube would never be an option for Jacob because he would rip it out. And so then it would become literally a matter of life and death. So, I mean, that's hard, that's heavy. It's one of the reasons we have it written in his plans. Because even though I can tell you that with my head, if it came to that decision, that would be difficult to know that we would have to put him basically on palliative care and comfort care and have him pass away just because he can't get his teeth taken care of, or because we couldn't save his teeth. So that's hard, that's heavy on a mama's heart. We're going to go to the Capitol, Jake? Yeah? You like when we go testify? Tell them how to help you out. Jacob and I have spent years trying to advocate for adult dental benefits in Kansas under our Medicaid. Thank you for your assistance and time in addressing this crisis that continues to plague our most vulnerable families in our state.
Thank you, Kathy.
Advocacy isn't a quick fix. It's not a Band-Aid. It takes time, it takes persistence, but eventually it does work. In 2022, the Kansas legislature allocated money to allow for adult dental coverage in Medicaid, which was a huge victory for Kansans. We've learned the power of our voices and sharing our stories. And when we come testify, we get 3 minutes, and 3 minutes is really quick considering how long it takes us to load up and come into town. But if our voices are heard and changes are made because of it, then that 3 minutes is worth it. We finally have that first victory, but definitely we're not at the end of that, and we are going to continue to fight. This is where we go testify, huh, Jacob? Do a lot of advocating in there, don't we, buddy? Yep, that's our room. The work that still needs to be done in Kansas is to increase our network capacity, our network adequacy, making sure we have the right providers that will provide the dentistry to individuals, but then also providers who will do sedation dentistry. There were 3 years he didn't go to the dentist because of his need for sedation. We finally did, after 3 years, find a children's dentist, and he agreed that he would see Jacob in his office. But I think there's a lot of people even who don't have this level of need that couldn't get to the dentist because it wasn't covered by their Medicaid benefits. About half the states still don't have comprehensive adult dental coverage in their Medicaid plans, and that's a travesty. Everybody needs to be able to have their oral care taken care of, and so I would just encourage those states that don't to get on board. Oral hygiene is just part of our overall being, and it needs to be thought at and viewed no different than behavioral health services, physical health services. It affects your physical health, it affects your mental health. People judge you by your teeth and even trying to get a job or other things that can lead to people's whole lifestyle. And so I think when people have it, normal dental care or are used to getting coverage, it's nothing you think about, right? It's just like a normal part of your life. But when that's missing or not available, I think that's when you start realizing the impacts it can have in other areas of your life. Oral health is a health issue, an economics issue, and an equity issue. Everybody should be able to get oral care just as they can go to the doctor to get a physical. People need to hear your stories. Your stories are valuable, and people need to hear your story in order for there to be change or to even know that there's a need for change. If parents and people don't bring their voices here to the Capitol, to people that can make the decisions or make changes or increase funding, then you won't see any changes. No matter how exhausted you are or how much you think it won't matter, your voice does matter and advocating does work. You want change, you have to make change because people don't walk in your shoes. They don't know the struggles you're having unless you let them know that. And so really you do have to be the change you want to see in the world. Now is the time to improve and protect dental coverage for adults who rely on Medicaid for their health care. Sign Families USA petition asking policymakers to take action.